This morning did not begin with a single explosion. It began with a system failure, not the kind caused by overload, weather, or accident, but the kind that happens when multiple critical points are hit at once, deliberately, precisely, and all at the same time. Within minutes, something changed across the entire country. Lights went out, not in one neighborhood, not in one city, across everything. Tel Aviv went dark. Jerusalem went dark. Haifa went dark. Southern regions, northern regions, dark. And when the power goes out in a modern nation under active threat, it's not just an inconvenience, it's the beginning of something much bigger. Because electricity isn't just one system among many. It's the system everything else depends on. To understand what just happened, you have to understand how a national power grid actually works. Modern electrical networks are not fragile by design. They are built to survive failure. Power plants generate electricity. High-voltage transmission lines carry it across long distances. Substations step that power down and distribute it into cities, neighborhoods, homes, hospitals, and military installations. And all of this is layered with redundancy. If one power plant fails, others compensate. If one transmission line goes down, power is rerouted. If one node is lost, the system adapts. That's how it's supposed to work. But that resilience has limits. If enough key points are hit simultaneously, generation and distribution together, the system doesn't adapt. It collapses. What appears to have happened here is not a random disruption, but a coordinated strike on the structure of the grid itself. Multiple major power sources were disabled. At the same time, critical substations, where electricity is routed into population centers, were taken offline. That combination is important, because even if some power is still being generated, without functioning substations and transmission pathways, that energy can't reach where it's needed. It becomes trapped inside a broken network. The result is something called a cascading failure. One part shuts down, that overloads another, then another, until, in a matter of moments, the entire system drops. And that's when the real consequences begin. Because a blackout during peacetime is one thing. A blackout during an ongoing missile campaign is something else entirely. Start with air defense. Missile defense systems rely heavily on continuous power. Radar arrays scan the sky constantly, tracking incoming threats. Command systems calculate trajectories. Interceptors are launched based on precise timing and targeting data. All of that requires stable, uninterrupted energy. Yes, backup systems exist. Generators, batteries, emergency protocols. But backup power is exactly what it sounds like, temporary. It is not designed to sustain full operational capacity indefinitely. And more importantly, it often cannot support every function at maximum performance. Which means systems begin to scale down. Radar coverage may be reduced, tracking resolution may drop, response times may increase, and in missile defense, seconds matter. A slight delay, a slight miscalculation, can mean the difference between interception and impact. Now consider the situation on the ground. Hospitals. Under normal conditions, hospitals are some of the most prepared facilities for power loss. They have generators, they have fuel reserves, they have protocols, but those systems are built for temporary outages. Hours, not days, and certainly not under conditions where patient loads are already elevated due to ongoing conflict. Every ventilator, every surgical device, every monitoring system is now running on backup power. Fuel becomes the most critical resource, and fuel supply depends on logistics, transport, storage, distribution, all of which are affected by the same blackout. Traffic systems fail. Pumping stations require electricity. Coordination becomes harder. The longer the outage continues, the more difficult it becomes to sustain operations. And eventually, decisions have to be made. What gets powered? What gets reduced? What gets turned off? Those are decisions no system is designed to make under pressure. Then there's communication. In modern conflict, communication is everything. Military command structures rely on constant data flow. Governments rely on the ability to reach their population. Emergency alerts depend on functioning networks. But communication infrastructure is not immune to power loss. Cell towers switch to battery backup. Internet nodes begin to degrade. Signal strength weakens, and over time, systems begin to fail. Phones run out of charge, networks go silent, and people are left without information. No alerts, no updates, no guidance, just uncertainty. And uncertainty in a situation like this spreads faster than anything else, because this isn't just a technical failure. It's a psychological one. Before, attacks were localized. One city affected, another untouched. People could still feel a sense of distance from the threat. But a nationwide blackout removes that distance. Everyone experiences it at once. Everyone feels the same disruption, the same silence, the same darkness. It creates a shared reality, and that reality is instability. There's also the question of recovery. Because restoring power is not as simple as flipping a switch, especially when key components are damaged. High voltage transformers, the backbone of the grid, are not easily replaced. They are large, complex, and often custom built. Manufacturing them takes time, transporting them takes coordination, installing them requires stability. And during an active conflict, none of those conditions are guaranteed, which means repair timelines can stretch significantly. Days become weeks, weeks become months. Now layer that onto the current situation: ongoing missile threats, strained defense systems, hospitals under pressure, communications degrading, and a power grid that may not come back online quickly. This is no longer a single event. It's a chain reaction. Each failure amplifies the next. Each weakness exposes another. And this is where the bigger picture comes into focus. Because this kind of strike is not just about immediate damage. 44. It's about long-term disruption. If the objective were temporary chaos, fewer targets would have been enough. But targeting multiple critical nodes simultaneously suggests something else. A strategy. One designed to overwhelm not just defenses, but recovery itself. Because when a nation loses power during conflict, it doesn't just lose electricity, it loses efficiency. It loses coordination. It loses control over systems that are normally invisible, but essential. Water systems rely on electricity. Fuel distribution relies on electricity. Financial systems, communications, transportation, all interconnected. Remove power, and you begin to see how dependent everything truly is. And now that dependency is fully exposed in real time. The question now isn't just what happened. It's what happens next. How long can backup systems hold? How quickly can repairs begin? How does a country maintain operational stability when its foundational infrastructure is compromised? And perhaps the most important question, what does this change about the nature of the conflict going forward? Because once a system like this is disrupted at scale, restoring it is not just a technical challenge, it's a strategic one. Right now, millions of people are experiencing the same moment, sitting in darkness, waiting for updates, trying to understand what comes next. And in that moment, one thing becomes very clear. When power falls, everything else follows. If you've made it this far, let me know what you think. Do you see this as a temporary disruption or the beginning of a longer-term shift in how this conflict is being fought? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want more deep dive analysis like this, make sure you subscribe and like the video. I'll see you in the next one.